Did you notice any differences in story as you were reading lines for Clank this time compared to past experiences?
It was always a great story. What amazed me about the first time that we did the first game, first of all, it's the first game I ever played all the way through from beginning to end, ever. I said, I knew these guys got something. What amazed me, it was always sort of done, from being used to doing cartoons, it's done as a show. It's done as a cartoon. Oh, so it's not just not just a bunch of noises and grunts, but it's a movie. It's a show. So it was laid out like that. So the whole thing has just been great. It's been a fun experience.
Cool. Yes.
So I want to just kind of build on that. We did really put a lot of emphasis on the story, but that was after a lot of internal debate about how important story is to these games. I just want to ask you guys, how many of you tend to button through the movies that you see in games? Well, we made the right choice then, because we argued. A lot of us have felt that, wow, there are plenty of games where people just kind of button through because they want to get to the gameplay, and a lot of people held fast and said, no, the story is really important, and it's great to see you guys validating that, so thanks.
So, Adam, what do you think keeps this series as a fan favorite for so many years?
I think at the end of the day, and obviously I'm speaking as a very big fan of the series, that it has a lot to do with the world. It has that sense of, okay, I know where I am, I have an understanding of the logic of all the environments, but just like all the cartoons I used to love watching when I was a kid, because I grew up like in 1973 is when I was born, and so it was right at that cusp. Like, I never really watched He-Man or anything like that. I was still getting all the holdovers from the 60s, and so like Warner Brothers animation that was always on was what I grew up with. And I love those worlds where you understand what's happening in the present. There's all these questions and mystery about like how does this place function? And I really feel that in all the different environments that you go to in Ratchet and Clank, and then you have this kind of wonderful tour guide of the two main characters. And it's always this sense of, I can't wait to see what happens next. I can't wait to see what happens next, both in the story, which I have to say, and I can say this because I'm not tooting my own horn, Cracker Time has the best story in the Ratchet series. And, but there's always something new and fresh and exciting, and the tone of it. It's back when the first two came out, especially going Commando, we were so enmeshed in very, very heavy-handed video games. Most everything was, end of the world. Everyone was kind of a grizzled person that had to, forestall the apocalypse yet again. And it was just so nice to have that breath of fresh air from the Ratchet series. And to be fair to Naughty Dog, Jack and Daxter was doing something similar as well. And it's just kind of a pleasant place to be.
That works. So now I'm going to turn briefly to Mike and Andrew. What convinced us to bring Nefarious back as the main villain?
I think Nefarious has always been a bit of a fan favorite. I know a lot of people who worked on the team felt that way too. Nefarious always has this grand Machiavellian plan how he's going to take over the universe, and he couldn't have a better sidekick in Lawrence as well. Lawrence really is his support structure, and in some ways he's his caretaker and probably puts him to bed every night and makes sure he gets up in the morning.
Now, Andrew, from a gameplay standpoint, which has been your favorite final boss, so to speak, to work on for me?
Final bosses are a tough call. The first thing, there seem to be several final bosses in this game, depending on exactly how far you're willing to take it. But there's a new level of challenge added to our bosses in this game that I think we kind of refocused our efforts at the start to try to make this really a challenging game. Azimuth in particular is brutal. He's a really tough fight. I think Adam Winchester is our boss for Broken Park. He did an amazing job of bringing some originality and some new mechanics and turning him into more than just a damage sponge. He really has some tricks up his sleeve that you really have to be on the ball and paying attention to survive that fight.
I hope that wasn't a spoiler.
You asked the question.
Strike two. Okay, well, you guys are actually in for a real treat. We've talked about the cast of characters here, and I want to introduce to you our launch trailer for Ratchet & Clank Future: A Crack in Time. Figured this would be a good point to break before we head off and to discuss Ratchet & Clank themselves a little bit. So, welcome. You are the first to see this, and this will be out on various websites after today. So, here you go.
Over there.
This works.
Born from disaster, I created the universe's greatest contingency plan. The Great Clock. Designed to repair time itself. There are those who want it for evil. Some hope to find truth. And others seek redemption. It is a gift that must be protected at all costs.
Wow, I know. So much for clean underwear. Strap in for a new adventure starring Ratchet, Clank, Azimuth, Dr. Nefarious, and Mr. Copernicus Quark. It's Captain Quark. I didn't take a 3-week hero correspondence course to be called Mr. Ratchet and Clank Future, a crack in time. I feel very close to you right now.
So I guess you liked it. Awesome. Okay, so now we're going to talk more about the Ratchet & Clank specifically. Andrew, since we ended with you, we'll start with you. What's something new